Hi, I'm Leslie Maddox, and today I'm sharing with you a review and my best tips and recommendations for using Evan-Moor Skill Sharpeners Math for Pre-K. This is a book I used with my youngest, my preschooler, this past year. So I'm going to do a little flip through and show you how I used it and my best tips and recommendation for it. All right, so this is, first of all, it's marketed, or what's said on the cover is that it's for connecting school and home. But I just used it with we homeschool obviously, so school and home are really connected already. But I just used it as a gentle math curriculum. We did a lot of other math activities this past year, and after we did those, spent months on those, I brought this in, and it was kind of a nice change of pace for us, and he really liked it. It is a fun and colorful activity book for preschoolers, so you can see there's lots of color on pages. It introduces a wide variety of math concepts. So some of the math concepts introduced include number and operations, measurement, algebra, geometry, and so on. The way it's set up is that the book is split up into different units. So there are 10 different units, and every unit covers pretty much the same math concepts, just with a different theme. So like the first unit, the theme is monkey, second one is cookies, so each unit just has a different theme, but they have similar activities and math concepts covered. The pages are perforated. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that, but you could tear these out if you wanted to. There are about 125 pages for your student to complete. So you see, this is a lot in here. There are a lot of pages. And then there's an answer key at the back if you should need it. I guess it would be a good idea also to maybe get an older student to check your younger student's work. That could be fun. But we didn't do that. There's a tracking form at the back. Honestly, I didn't use this at all. I didn't even know it was here until I started looking at the back of this book. I'm like, oh, what do you know? But they can color in each page that's completed. I didn't feel that was necessary for us, but you might find that useful. Just doing a quick flip through of some of these pages so you can get an idea of the activities. There's tracing of numbers. That was probably my least favorite thing in this book because my son is learning number formation in his handwriting curriculum, and that's where I want him to learn that. But there's a lot of coloring. You could tell my youngest loves some blue. He wanted to make everything blue. Some matching, one banana. It's super easy at first. Looks like we missed this page, a couple of these pages. They were probably just stuck together. And then there's some shape recognition, simple connected dots, and as it gets into for bigger numbers, this type of page becomes more interesting. Big and little, so comparisons and some circling, so some of them skip further on. So there's counting, so some one-to-one correspondence, which is important. Some drawing, which, if your student loves drawing, and my youngest does enjoy drawing. He's not a perfectionist. He doesn't care if it doesn't look exactly right, which usually it won't, right? So he's okay with this. For a student that does not love drawing, that won't be their favorite page. Maybe you could do stickers for a page like that. And you see it gets more interesting with the connected dots. I love connected dots for this age. There are some cut and paste activities. So like on this page, he cut out the ladybugs, and he was supposed to glue the ladybugs into the jar. So 5 here and 7 here. And so that's good fine motor skill practice and kind of one-to-one correspondence, that type of thing. See here's some simple addition, which I liked, and then writing the numbers. And again, that's not why I bought this curriculum, so not my favorite, but for you, that might be exactly what you want. I also liked that it had identification of pennies in here. So I guess you could say this is a spiral approach to math. Even I don't typically think of it of whether it's spiral or mastery for a preschooler, but this is definitely more of a spiral approach. Let's see, I missed a couple of pages here. And then we get into some more interesting pages where the connect the dots is more elaborate, and he enjoyed coloring, some pattern recognition. So this was he loved this book, and for the most part I liked it too. I just kind of kept my eyes peeled for where they expected them to write or write numbers or letters. Notice here on this page he used markers, and these pages aren't thick enough. I mean, you can hear them. You can hear the page. It's not thick enough to handle a marker. So definitely consider keeping the crayons or colored pencils out to use during this, because you see how much it just bled through. And then when you did the other page, it was kind of a pain. As far as teacher prep goes, I think that as long as you have crayons, colored pencils, scissors, glue, no markers, but those other things, this should be open and go. You might, especially at the beginning, have to read the instructions aloud. If you really want this to be independent for your preschooler, and just want to say, like, go to your workbox and get your math, or just say it's math time and have them get their own supplies, then you may want to be sure to have those extra supplies, the scissors and glue and crayons and colored pencils, somewhere where they can get to them, and they don't need you to get them. Of course, you have to take into consideration what other little hands are around. I know in our homeschool for many years we struggled with that, because man, I had kids writing on walls and everything. So you just kind of consider that. How much time is required from your student will also depend on how you want to use it. For preschoolers, I'd always say, expect like a 4 or 5 minute, maybe even 3 minute attention span. But if your student really likes workbooks, and all of my kids generally like workbooks, and especially when it's a fun one like this, they may want to do more. For us, I just gave it to him, and he spent as much time on it as he wanted. Sometimes it was a few minutes, sometimes it was 20 minutes. Just depends. I would recommend this book to students that do well with both interactive and visual learning methods, since this is a very interactive book. They're interacting with the actual information, and it is really pleasing to the eye. So students that do well with those two learning methods will enjoy this book, especially if they like these puzzle-like activities, which is a lot of them are very puzzle-like for a preschooler. Also, I would recommend this book to students that could use some work on their fine motor skills, because there's the practice of holding a pencil or a crayon, and actually that might even be a limiting factor for how long your student uses this book for each time you use it. So if your student is really struggling with their fine motor skills and is building up their muscle strength and their ability to hold a pencil or crayon, they may only be able to do one of these pages, and that's enough for them. But you know what? Hey, that's good practice. That's good practice in holding a pencil or crayon, and they've learned something. The gluing activities are also good for fine motor skills, using scissors and then having to, with their 2 fingers, pick up each one of these and put it where it needs to go. Those are really great for fine motor skills. So this is a way to sneak in some fine motor skill work while learning a little bit of something about math. I would also recommend a book like this for preschoolers that want to use a math workbook like a big kid. And my little preschooler definitely wants to be just like the big kids. And that's the nice thing about homeschooling, that when kids see their older siblings, learning to them, that's not a drudgery, that's fun and exciting, the idea of being able to learn like they do. And so this is a great way to allow them to do that and to do some real schoolwork. I would not recommend this book for students that are still struggling with just holding a pencil or crayon. So if you purchase this book and start using it and then realize child is really struggling with that skill, I would just put it aside and work on that with just some simple coloring and just practicing holding that crayon or pencil. And then when they're comfortable with that, go back to this book. One of my best tips for using Skill Sharpeners Math for Pre-K is to allow your students to do as little or as much as he wants out of this workbook in one sitting, and within reason, of course. So let them kind of work as much as they want. When I had this planned out, I'm a planner, so I'll say like, we're gonna, these days a week you're gonna work on math, even for my preschooler. And I just require 1 page. My other tip would be to be sure to talk about each concept with your student in order to gauge their understanding. So for example, on this page, we're talking about triangles. Students are asked to draw these hats. So I'd have a short and sweet conversation with my child about, what shape is this? This is a triangle. How many sides does it have? It has 3 sides. How many triangles do you have on this page? Just something to solidify that learning. Some pages would require that more than others. A connect the dots page, for example. I found with my students that when they first start doing connect the dots, they don't look at the numbers. They see that they're supposed to start here, and then they just start going to the closest dot. And for us, the purpose of doing a connect the dots is for counting, recognizing numbers and counting them, saying the numbers in order. So by just going to the next dot, that's not achieving that. They're not learning that. So I might have my students say these numbers out loud, or I'd go back and check. And if they like maybe if he hadn't seen the 5 and just went straight to the 6, I would have said, well, what's after 4? 5, okay, is that a 5? No, so where's the 5? Even with my first grader, I have to do that sometimes. So just kind of gauge, are they getting it, are they not getting it? Another opportunity to gauge understanding is when we talk about money. So let's draw a line to make a match. And you could just let them do this and say, well, this is 2 cents, there's 2 coins, so go there. But I talked to my student about, what are these? These are pennies. How much is each penny? Each penny is 1 cent. So if you have 2 pennies, how many cents do you have? You have 2 cents. If you have 3, you have 3 cents. And what's the name of that coin again? That's a penny. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with gauging their understanding. And listen, you don't even have to do all that. You could just let them use this book and just start being familiar with how a penny looks like and not even know the name of it. And that's just fine too. But for me, I like to get as much as I can out of each book. If we're going to sit down and take time to do some learning, I want that learning to be rich and short and sweet, of course, for my little ones, but as rich as possible. So that would be one way of doing that. Well, if you are interested in more videos like this one where I give you my tips and recommendations for how to incorporate books like this into your homeschool, be sure to tap on the playlist to the side. That's where I keep all of these videos. And I will talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.